We're in. Cheltenham is back this weekend. Welcome to the Be Lucky podcast, where we discuss 3 races on Saturday, go through them in depth, look at the markets, and try and pick a couple of winners. Disaster struck last week with no winners, but there was 2 winners from the 3 races the week before. And I am looking forward to seeing Cheltenham back on our screens. I'm going to go Saturday, and I'm going to go and be back at the home of racing. Jesus Christ, it feels like it's been a long, long time since I've been there. But let's get stuck in. We're going to take 2 races from Cheltenham, and we're going to take 1 race from Newbury, the St Simon Stakes, which looks a really competitive field. First race we're going to talk about is the 220 at Cheltenham, the Handicap Chase, really competitive. The market, headed by last year's National Hunt Chase runner-up, Rock My Way, for Joe Tizard. Joe tends to have his horses pretty much straight first time out, and he is a worthy favourite, being nibbled into 11-2. 7-year-old had a wind up and a tongue tie, and blinkers combination is on today. Highland off a mark of 147 is second favourite, 15-2. Kings Threshold is 8-1. Holy Joe Smoke 9-1. The Short Go was second in this race last year, despite a couple of mistakes. 10-1. Transmission didn't quite come off for them last year, did it? Trying to target that National Hunt Chase all season. 10-1. Back me or sack me. You never know what you're going to get with Emmett Mullins, so a well-named horse. 12-1. Free Card Bragg 12-1. Man of the People 14s. Dunboyne 16s, and it's much bigger. The rest. Okay, we're going to start with a favourite. He's been off 196 days. But this son of Getaway has proven to go fairly well fresh previously, although in 2023 he was beaten 42 lengths by Highland at this venue over hurdles. Worth keeping that in mind, considering he is a much shorter price than Highland here. He hasn't, the last time he won was back at Doncaster in a 3-runner race, being Upi Collonge, who couldn't really jump fences. He's got a bit stiff task, and I don't think there's much value in the price of 11-2 there. Highland is very interesting, especially given he chased home the horse that I think is going to be rated 160 plus, and that is the Jukebox Man at Kempton. A couple of starts back, he was beaten 15 lengths by Katak Dore at Kempton in the Ladbroke Trophy Chase, but he jumped poorly that day. I'd probably forgive him. He's got a really good record fresh. Won here last year, beaten Transmission by 15 lengths. The year before, he won at Warwick, beaten Prairie Wolf. The year before, he was 3rd. But this is a horse that likes decent ground, that we should touch on the ground. We will do in a minute. But has plenty in his favour, goes well at Cheltenham, has dictated a couple of races, but goes fairly well indeed. The weather, the rain did come overnight on or into Thursday, but it's set to be dry for the next couple of days, so I'm looking at good to soft. Probably not ideal for summer jumpers, probably fair ground for most, but I expect the better horses to come to the fore with that soft in the going description. Will it be okay for Highland? Who knows? Possibly. But Nico de Boinville is on for Highland, and he will look to maintain a good record. King's Threshold pulled up last year behind Resplendent Grey in the Bet365 Gold Cup. That was a really, really, really deep race, and he was slightly hampered and just lost touch at about 4 out and pulled up at 3 out. Maybe that was a step too far in terms of stamina for him over 28 furlongs there. Back to a 3-mile 1 today. Looked really good before that at Newbury, at Warwick, at Huntingdon, but did leave himself 23 lengths behind Holy Smoke. It's hard to know what you're going to get with King's Threshold for Emma Lavelle. It's an 8-1 shot, so you want to be quite confident he's going to go well first time up. He's never won off the back of a seasonal return. In fact, he's always improved for the run second time out, with second time out form figures of 1, 2, 2, 5. So difficult to know what you're going to get from him on seasonal return. Holy Joe Smoke is a very talented horse. He's a bit of a bleeder. He has bled before. I think he might be better suited to Sandown than this track. And I think the one to be with, actually, is the Short Go for Henry de Bromhead, who was second in this race last year. He can make some jumping errors. He's a bit sticky at some of his fences, but it doesn't seem to stop him. It didn't stop him running a blinding race in this race last year. Dara O'Keefe is on board. He's been off 175 days, but he has won when fresh previously, when he won a maiden hurdle at Killarney by 11 lengths. I always trust Henry de Bromhead to have his horses fit and firing for this meeting. The market seems to have forgotten about it, and I think he's top price 10-1, general 15-1. I think he's a fair bet, the 8-year-old here. I think there's more to give from him. Fifth behind My Town at Cheltenham in the Ultima Handicap. I think that was obviously pretty good form as well. So I do think the Short Go might be the horse for a small each way play in that 220. Very, very competitive handicap chase. Let's switch over to Newbury for a bit of flat action. The season is coming to a close, but still some good flat action. The St Simon Stakes is a very, very good race. Ancient Wisdom heads the market. William Buick, Charlie Appleby, 9-4. They have had horses disappoint time and time again in this race, but Ancient Wisdom will want the ground as testing as possible. It's got a massively high knee action. Slightly disappointed you'd have to be that he got beat by the exposed Nikki, but Goodwood last time, but he was running on fairly strongly. But I've been stung with Appleby horses in this race previously. Hamish is 10-3 second favourite. I think I said before on a previous podcast that he's just showing a slight decline, and I think that was evident at Ascot last time when taking a hammering by Al Kareem. He does love Newbury, he does love soft ground, but he's a 9-year-old. Maybe he can bounce back, maybe you can forgive that last run, but he's hardly a horse that is progressive these days. Stars in Their Eyes made a nice comeback for Ralph Beckett, only 3 lengths behind the Keeb and Ancient Wisdom at Goodwood, despite having been off since last October. Will love any dig in the ground. He really stays well, this horse. He's a 3-year-old still, and he has lots and lots of potential. Al Azi is rated 115, and he's a 17-2 shot. Ray Dawson takes a ride. No Jim Crowley on board today. No Tom Marquand on him either. No Daniel Tudhope. Last seen given too much to do behind a subsequent winner, Convergent, at Leopardstown. Lovely horse, went off 5-4 there. Back at Newbury, where he's run so well on so many occasions, but he was comfortably held in this race last year by Max Vega and Danielle. Maybe he's starting to show that he's an early season horse. Maybe he's not as progressive as one or two others in here. Mount Atlas, 10-1, really finished powerfully behind Hamish at Chester, trying to come from off the pace last time. He's another horse that's on the upgrade, got more to offer, won't mind any cut in the ground whatsoever, and it looks like now could be the time to catch our old friend Mount Atlas. Never been to Newbury before, but this track should be far more conventional for him rather than the tight test at Chester last time, and he did come good this time last year. So I do think there is plenty to like about Mount Atlas on the upgrade. Revoir is in here, no chance. Sea Scout comes back from a trip abroad. He's been in St. Cloud, Deauville, and he's been running really, really well, actually. Well above himself, well above what he had achieved over here. So he's not out of it. Military Academy won't mind the ground. Gets blinkers for the first time, needs to bounce back from a poor effort at Ascot last time, where his RPR was just 23. And Miss Wong for David Simcock comes into this race. She is the outsider of the entire field at 40-1. Really competitive race. I think there's reasons to be against the top of the market, although I do like Ancient Wisdom. I do think there's a bit more to give. He's got a bit more to give. He's only a 4-year-old. He won't mind the ground. I just wonder if it is even soft enough for him. We'll have to double check the ground on the day, but that is a pretty much of a rundown of the St Simon Stakes. I would take a closer look at Mount Atlas at any double figure prices, because I do think this is a horse that we're yet to see the best of. And he looked like he was coming back into a bit of form last time, having run at York on fast ground and Ascot on fast ground before that, winning at Ascot, but bombing out at York. The vet had nothing to report that day, but there's still improvement in this horse. You can make cases for every single bloody runner in this field. It's a very, very tricky race. Stars in Their Eyes is a horse I quite like. It's tough. It's really, really tough. Mount Atlas, though, double figures does appeal, but Ancient Wisdom has been given a bit of an opportunity here. It just bugs me that that Appleby's had a few disappointments in this race over the last few years. I think it was 2 years ago that he had, or 3 years ago, that behind the Illarab, that was it. He had Siskani go off odds on in here. Disappointed. The year before that, I think he had another one, or 2 years before that, he had another one when Mirando won the race. I might be talking absolute rubbish, but Yeah, Ancient Wisdom priced correctly. Mount Atlas probably overpriced, but Ancient Wisdom, I just feel like he's got a bit more to offer. Let's get back to Cheltenham. Let's get back to Cheltenham and talk about another race over there. Let's talk about the 405. This is a Novice Chase. No prices for this race yet, but a novice race nonetheless. Over 3 miles, one Pied Piper for Gordon Elliott, Jack Kennedy. Anyway for David, Kenneth, Buds and Dara O'Keefe. Baltic Bird for William Dirk and Patrick M. O'Brien. Intense Approach doesn't have a jockey booked yet. Leave of Absence. Sporting Glory. Welcome to Cartrees, who gets first time cheek piece tongue tie combination. And the horse I'd be looking at here is the 6-year-old Intense Approach, who made a winning start to life over fences at Galway last time. And I thought he was quite impressive in doing so. And he's a horse that has got loads of ability. Just for whatever reason last year, he didn't show it in 2 starts at Perth and here at Cheltenham in that Albert Bartlett behind Jasmine DeVoe. But he has won the novice hurdle here on this card last year, and he was really progressive at the start of the campaign. I think there's more to come from him. He's a winning point-to-pointer. I think there's lots to like about him. The other horse is Leave of Absence, who's an 8-year-old, but he's a really, really good horse. He was behind Iberico Lord at Kempton in November of 2024. He has obviously been very difficult to train because he wasn't seen until February, when he was beaten 24 lengths by the Changing Man, and then he went and won at Newbury in a Novice Chase. But I do think this horse has more to offer. He's rated 132, but I wouldn't let that put you off because I would fancy him in a handicap off that sort of mark. But I do think Intense Approach is the horse to be with in this. But we need to see prices. Of course, we need to see prices. Everything is always about price. You need to get value in your price. You need to be seeing what the traders are not seeing to make it worthy of a bet. Guys, have a wonderful weekend. Cheltenham is back, my friends. It's back. It's back. It's back. Come on. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday with the Be Lucky live show. Until next time, be lucky.